Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis. This is Shyam Kaggod here, taking up the discussion for 3rd September 2025. In today's newspaper, that is the Delhi edition, I've taken a total of 9 articles. The 10th article is basically from the Indian Express. This has been done in order to ensure that the discussion will be comprehensive and you will be able to address all the questions not only in the prelims but also in the mains examination. If you like this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start the discussion, two very important announcements. A lot of you are preparing for the civil services 26 and 27. Just ensure that you have a comprehensive coverage of the static portion. You'll also have you'll also have to ensure current affairs is updated. You'll have to have multiple prelims test series, mains test series, etc. If you want to enroll into our courses, the prices are at 17,999 now. This is the Teachers Day offer. Those who are interested, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. The second very important announcement is I keep on getting messages, mails, even in the chat section and the comment section of the video. The students keep on asking, sir, from where do we get the PPT that you are using in the session? Now listen to me very carefully. Whatever PPT I'm using in this particular session, it will be uploaded into this particular drive. I repeat, whatever PPT I'm using in this particular session, it will be uploaded in this particular drive. The link for the drive is given in the description. Click on the link, not right now. Let the session be over. This link will be available. Click on this particular link. It will open up another window, whatever PPT I'm using. And by the way, my name is Shyam Shankar Kaggod. If you're worried, who am I and what is this name? So you will be able to see a third tab in the bottom, newspaper PPT. The link will be given there. Download from there. Now let me start the discussion. The first set of articles, India and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The 25th summit, I'm pretty sure all of you know this, the 25th summit of SCO concluded very, very recently, correct? The 25th summit. Now, from the 25th summit of SCO, what are the important points you need to take away? What are the important points that you need to understand and remember for the civil services examination? I've taken multiple articles from the Hindu newspaper here. All of these are not individually listed. I've written only one article, India and SCO, or only one line. One is the editorial, unmistakable shift, which has been discussed in the context of India. Second one is Modi Z Putin show of unity troublesome, a statement which has been given by Mr. Peter Navarro, the trade advisor to Mr. Donald Trump. And the third one is Army Chief Mr. Munir, part of Pakistan's team that met Chinese president to discuss ties. Let's consolidate all of this. Let's understand what are the important points. And one point I'm telling you again and again in the context of not just the articles in international relations, but also in the context of Indian economy or polity for that matter, etc. Please try to make mind maps. Try to make the mind maps. For example, I've created a mind map wherein what are the important points from this particular, right, let's say set of articles. That is SCO can be, right, subsumed, can be summarized. You can easily revise this. Now let's start. The 25th, right, let's say SCO summit. What was the context of it? The context was very simple. There was global uncertainty, global volatility. That is the point number one. Point number two is Mr. Donald Trump, the current president of United States of America. The imprint of the current administration's policies, or let's say the impact of the current administration's policies of USA is being, right, let's say experienced by almost all the countries. Whether you're a strategic partner or you're just a trading partner or you have simply import and export relations with USA, doesn't matter. Whether you're an adversary, you're a friend, right? They have not spared any country for that matter. They have been targeting each and every country, including India, China, Russia, UK, European Union, etc. And they have been imposing tariffs after tariffs, one restriction after another restriction. So, this is a very important context. I hope you understand this. Why? First and foremost, what is the reason why the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was established? If you look at the history, you will realize that there was a Cold War. After Cold War, the whole of the globe, right, or let's say the most of the globe sided into one grouping, that is basically the Western led bloc, and the other countries such as China, or for that matter Russia, they did not have that kind of an influence after the Cold War ended. And that is the precise reason after the Cold War, these countries, especially China and Russia, these countries came together and they put forward this particular idea of having the SCO. And that is the reason you will basically come across these two countries, which are the partners, or let's say the initial, the originators of this particular model of, or the idea of a Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So these two countries came together. Initially, it was called as Shanghai 5, and over a period of time, the grouping has expanded. Right now, there are totally 27 countries who are part of SCO. Please remember this. There are totally 27 countries who are part of SCO. All of these are not full-time members. We have 10 full-time members, including India. We have 10 countries who are full-time members, and remaining 17 are partner countries. And remember this particular number. Why? Laos. This country, Laos, has been accepted as the latest member, or let's say latest country to enter into the group of SCO. Right? That is one very important outcome of the latest summit. That is the 25th summit. So the point I'm trying to convey here is, historically, what was the reason why we established SCO? Western-led blocs were influencing the global market. They were influencing, right, let's say most of the things that are happening in the global market. As an opposition to that, there was a formation of SCO. And what is observed right now? Again, the same thing is being observed. The Trump administration is imposing restrictions on almost all the countries. They are targeting countries, right? Let's say China, they're targeting Russia, and they're not even sparing a friendly country or a strategic partner such as India. So please look at this organization summit in that particular context. So one is uncertainty, volatility that has been brought in because of the latest administration in USA. Second one is, as usual, because it is mostly oriented towards the security, the recent terrorist attacks in multiple countries, the security risk, etc. That was also the background of the 25th summit. Done? So this is a context. Now, what are the important outcomes? What are the important outcomes of the summit? And then we can see what are the important outcomes from the context of India, because that is more important for you. I hope you understand. That is more important for you. What are the outcomes from the context of India? So first one, what are the general outcomes of the SCO 25th summit? Right? The first important point, in the declaration, in the Tianjin declaration, there was a mention of terrorist attacks. The terrorist attacks in Pakistan, the terrorist attack in India as well. This is very important point. Please remember that. Pahalgam terrorist attack was mentioned, and these kind of terrorist attacks have been condemned. These kind of terrorist attacks have been condemned. So that is the first very important outcome. Second very important outcome, the grouping now, the SCO has opposed unilateral coercive measures. Any kind of unilateral coercive measures. What do you mean by this? In recent times, USA, as right, as a country, as a partner country, as a leader of the global market, etc., has been taking multiple measures, multiple steps. It has been announcing sanctions one after another on many countries. For example, sanctions which have been announced earlier on Iran, sanctions which have been announced on Russia, etc. So these kind of unilateral coercive measures should be opposed. That is one more very important part of the statement, or the, let's say, declaration of Tianjin SCO made. Third one, now this particular grouping has been expanded. Like I said earlier, Laos has been accepted as the 27th country as a part of SCO. But please understand, Laos is not part of the full-time member countries. I'm repeating this. 10 countries who are full-time members, including India, Laos has been admitted as a partner country. It has been admitted as a partner country. Right? So total number is will be 27 now. And the fourth very important outcome is development and cooperation. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of BRICS Development Bank, which is now called as a new development banks. Please do let me know in the chat section. And whenever I discuss, whenever I take any session for that matter, not just this, any session, I want a two-way communication. That is, I want you people to respond to me so that I understand that you people are understanding. The new development bank or BRICS Development Bank, essentially an institution which is going to finance for the development of the countries. So now there is also a talk of developing or setting up a new type of a development bank under SCO. Important point, please make a note of this. Under SCO, now there's a proposal to set up this kind of a development bank, which will provide financial assistance or loans, etc., for the countries to develop infrastructure. That is also one more very important outcome, fourth important outcome. And the fifth one, the Global Governance Initiative. There is an initiative which has been proposed. Details are yet to be announced. Don't worry. There is a Global Governance Initiative, GGI, which is going to basically promote the governance across multiple countries. How it will be done, what will be the modus operandi, etc. Do not worry about it as of now. So these are the 5 very important outcomes from the 25th SCO Summit. Now come to the last part of the discussion for this article. What is the takeaway for India? What are the key takeaways for India? The first and the most important key takeaway will be the reinforcement of multi-alignment approach. Reinforcement of multi-alignment approach. What do you mean by multi-alignment approach here? Post-independence, you must have seen or heard of this, we followed a concept called as a non-alignment approach. That is NAM. Right? We realize that the countries around the world, or there have been different groups, and we did not want to be aligned with only one of these particular groups. That we basically call this as non-alignment. But over a period of time, there has been a change in the approach of government of India. Now, instead of simply saying we are not aligned with any grouping, we are following a concept called as a multi-alignment approach or multi-alignment strategy, where we are simply saying, if this particular country, by having trade with this particular country, if it is in my interest, I will align with it. If this grouping is there, having a trade or let's say relations with this particular grouping is in my interest, I will align with it. I will not be aligning with only one group. I will align myself with multiple groups to protect my interest. I'll just give you one example. In recent times, USA has been pushing India. It has imposed 50% tariffs, which have already kicked in now. It has imposed 50% tariffs. One of the reasons these kind of tariffs have been announced, that is 25%, is because we are having trade relations with, let's say Russia. We are importing Russian crude. Although there is a, let's say, hypocrisy written all over it. But their argument is we are having relations with Russia, we are importing, we are paying money for them, etc. Hence, we will be targeted and imposed with 25% tariff. Government of India has clarified its stance. Government of India simply says, any country which will supply crude to me at the lowest cost in the market, I will purchase from them. Very simple. Any country around the world, whichever country will supply to us at the lowest cost in the market, we will purchase from them. That is our interest. Right? So argument is very simple now. Multi-alignment approach is being followed by Government of India, and participating in this grouping or summit now reinforces that. That is the first one. Second one, India-China ties will be reset with this. That's also a very important outcome. After 2020 Galwan clashes, what has happened? Multiple restrictions have been announced by Chinese government as well as Indian government. But now please understand, in the face of the new administrative policy or the policies of the new administration in USA, this was actually required. Right? I hope you understand. This was actually required because right now the prerogative or the priority is to stabilize the economy. Chinese economy is suffering. For example, right, there is overproduction in China. Please understand. There is a overcapacity, overproduction in China now. Real estate sector is suffering in China. And real estate was very important for Chinese economy. Why? 25% of the GDP actually came from real estate. So real estate sector has faltered. Their exports are faltering. One after the other, right? Restrictions are being announced by the USA administration. In that particular context, it was required for the Chinese government also to have a realignment of, right, let's say, the policy towards India. So that is also being observed. More and more visas are being discussed now. Resuming the direct flights between India and China are being discussed. So I hope you understand. So there is a realignment. Again, please understand this is because of what is being done in the global market by USA. Right? So India-China ties are going to be reset. Russia, India, China. I'm pretty sure all of you have seen that viral movement or let's say viral video or viral picture of Mr. Putin, Xi Jinping and Mr. Modi, the heads of the three important countries RIC, which went viral. And this is a message to USA. Why? Please understand. This idea of a RIC, again, I hope you understand. Russia, India, China. It is not a new concept, by the way. Since 1990s, this concept is being discussed. But post Galwan, there was, right, basically a stoppage put over this particular model of RIC. But now, right, will this be, again, right, let's say, will this be re-energized? What will happen to the trade relations amongst these particular countries, etc., that we will have to wait and see. That is another very important outcome. Pahalgam attack was mentioned in the statement. And this is important. Why? If you remember, in the month of June, there was a defense ministers meet. Defense ministers meet where the SCO member countries came together and India's representative, defense minister, walked out. Why? The terrorist attack in Pakistan was mentioned in the statement. It was condemned. But Pahalgam attack was not mentioned in the statement. India refused to sign the statement. India simply said, because you are not mentioning Pahalgam attack, but you are mentioning something that has happened in Pakistan, we do not agree to this. Pahalgam attack should be condemned. That was a viewpoint of government of India. We did not sign the statement. But now, right, basically India has called out. You must have heard the speech of Prime Minister in this particular summit. India called out the double standards of the member countries. And as a result of this, as an outcome of this, the Pahalgam attack has been mentioned. It has been condemned. That's a very important takeaway for us. And finally, the Prime Minister also mentioned, criticized this particular policies around the world, not specifically targeting China, but indirectly targeting China. Prime Minister basically said, around the world now there is a practice of countries financing the projects, that is infrastructure projects, and taking over, right, or making these particular countries falling into a debt. Right? Sovereignty should be the prerogative. Sovereignty should be given the primary importance, not at the cost of developing infrastructure projects. So these are also, or this is also one of the very important key takeaway for India, calling out the Belt and Road Initiative, not directly but indirectly. So everybody is okay. I know I've taken around 20 minutes now, but I hope you understand I've covered the complete aspect of SEO now. I've covered the complete aspect starting from the basics to what are the key takeaways for India from the 25th summit. Again, I'm telling you this, develop these kind of mind maps. Please develop these kind of mind maps which will help you in easy revision over a period of time. Done. Based on this, I will give you one MCQ. Please solve it. And then there is a descriptive question as well. Consider the following statements regarding Shanghai Cooperation Organization. SCO. Three statements are there. Please solve it quickly. Laos is the latest country to be admitted into SCO as a partner. The SCO has 27 full-time member countries. The Official languages of SEO are English, Russian, and Chinese. How many of these particular statements are true? Some of you are saying B. Some of you are saying A. Okay, A, B, C. There is a distribution between A, B, C. And nobody is speaking of D, by the way. And anyways, let's start. Laos is the latest country to be admitted into SEO as a partner country. Partner? Yes. It is a partner country, not a full-time member country. Okay. The SEO has a full 27 full member countries. No, not 27 full member countries. There are 27 countries which are part of SEO. 10 are full member countries, 17 are partner countries. The official languages of SEO are English, Russian, and Chinese. If you have heard to the discussion I have done, you will know the answer there itself. Who are the two founding members of SEO? Who are the two founding members? Russia and China. So don't you think the two languages, official languages, will have to be Russian and Chinese and not English, by the way? Done? So English is not the official language of SEO, Russian and Chinese. And before somebody says, sir, there is nothing called as Chinese, it is either Mandarin or Cantonese, etc. Don't worry. The term Chinese is mentioned in the charter. I know some of you will basically say, sir, there is no language such as Chinese. It has to be Mandarin or etc. Don't worry. In the charter of SEO, the term Russian and Chinese is mentioned. So third statement incorrect. Only the first one is correct. Right option for the question will be option A. Now, please take up this as an assignment. Descriptive question number 83. In a multipolar world, multi-alignment is not a choice, but a necessity for India. Everybody is able to understand the question now? I'll repeat the question. In a multipolar world, multi-alignment is not a choice, but a necessity for India. Sir, how do I write this? What are the points? What should be the approach? Please do not take up only one aspect and start discussing everything. No. Talk about, let's say, defense. Talk about labor movement. Talk about, right, self-interest. Talk about crude oil. I hope you understand. For example, in the recent, let's say, trip that was undertaken by the Prime Minister, before going to SEO, the Prime Minister also visited Japan. Correct? All of you know this? Prime Minister visited Japan. Under the multiple agreements which were signed with the Japanese government, one agreement or one area of focus is movement of labor. Please remember that. Movement of labor. Why? The country Japan is facing an issue of aging population. Aging population. Hence, government of India is saying we will supply 50,000 labor to your country now. Labor mobility packs, right? These are very common in the context of India. So labor movement, right? Energy security, right? Defense ties, etc. All of these particular points we'll have to mention to write a very comprehensive answer. Let me go forward. Second article, slightly technical. Please listen to me very carefully. Decoding the Supreme Court order on regulatory assets. What is the issue here? Right? What is this concept of a regulatory asset? Let me start with the definition of regulatory asset. Then I'll make you understand step by step. Listen very carefully. A regulatory asset is an intangible asset which is created by electricity discom to account for the gap between the price at which they purchase power and price at which they sell it to customers due to discounts or electricity bill waiver provided by the respective state governments. Now, before you basically say, sir, don't read out from the PPT. Explain what is there. What is the point of you discussing then? I can only read the article, etc. Let me explain. Whenever you look at the power sector in India, electricity in essence, there are multiple stages. The three very important stages are: one, production of electricity. Then there is a transmission of electricity. Transmission means transfer. And finally, there is a distribution of electricity. Is everybody okay? The whole supply chain has a three stages: production, transmission, and distribution. Now listen to me very carefully. When you come to the third stage, that is the distribution stage, you will essentially see that most of the distribution is done by the state governments. This is point number one. Most of the distribution is done by the state government. Distribution comes, right, or is carried out by the state governments. It falls under the concurrent list, right? So distribution is done by the state government. But please understand the next point as well. Is 100% of the distribution always carried out by the state governments in India? No. There are places in India where the state government has given this particular right of distribution to private sector company. For example, cities such as Agra, cities such as right, let's say Mumbai, etc. It is the private sector which is right basically involved in the distribution of electricity. This is point number one. Please remember this. Point number two, when there is procurement of electricity and distribution of electricity, can I simply say, when you procure electricity, you will have to pay money. Correct? You will have to pay money. And when you transfer the electricity or when you distribute the electricity to different consumers, again, you'll have to spend money to develop infrastructure. And finally, you will sell the electricity to consumer who will pay money to you for electricity consumption. There are two technical terms here: average revenue realized, average cost of supply. Is everybody okay? Average revenue realized, average cost of supply. What is this average revenue realized? For whatever electricity that I've supplied, how much per unit I am right basically collecting. Per unit, how much money am I earning? And average cost of supply, for every unit of electricity that I supply, how much is the expenditure I'm incurring? Now, very common sense idea. If the average cost of supply is greater than average revenue realized, that is spending more money compared to how much you are earning, can I simply say this will lead to losses for the distribution companies? Do let me know. You're spending more money for every unit, but you're collecting lesser for every unit. That will lead to losses. Now, why are these losses being incurred? There are multiple reasons. Why are these losses being incurred? One reason, primary reason is you are spending more and more money when you purchase electricity. The cost of coal has increased. The cost of importing coal has increased. Cost of project development has increased. Cost of labor has increased, etc. You are spending more money. But on the other hand, when you want to collect the money, revenue, when you want to collect the money, the state government announces free electricity to the farmers. And when government announces free electricity, no doubt the farmer will not pay the money, but the state government will have to pay money. Somebody has to pay for this. The state government has to pay money. There is a theft of electricity. There is a transmission loss, etc. So argument is very simple here. The average revenue realized is lesser compared to average cost of supply. As a result of this, there are a lot of losses incurred by the distribution companies. And generally what is done by the distribution companies is, whenever let's say the state government announces a subsidy on electricity, or there is right, let's say a bill waiver announced by the state government, etc., the recovery will be lesser, expenditure will be greater. The difference between that, they will create an asset in their balance sheet, which is called as a regulatory asset. Is everybody able to understand the difference between that? That is, let's say hypothetically, they will spend 100 rupees and they will collect 80 rupees. Again, although it is per unit, don't worry. Just to make it simple, I am writing it. The difference between that is how much? 20 rupees. The DISCOM will create an asset in its balance sheet worth 20 rupees, which is called as a regulatory asset. Is everybody okay with the idea? And what is the use of this regulatory asset? The DISCOM basically says, over a period of time, I will recover this money from the consumers. I will basically recover this money from the consumers. How? I will keep on increasing the tariff over a period of time. I will recover the money. This is basically the concept of regulatory asset. Is everybody okay with the term regulatory asset now? Now, what is the recent Supreme Court judgment? And before I go forward, this is a very technical concept. I'm only saying this is a very technical concept, how it is mentioned in the balance sheet, how over a period of time it is accounted in the prices, etc. There is a process. You don't worry. Don't become a chartered accountant here. Simply understand the concept and go forward. The Supreme Court of India very recently has issued an order to the distribution companies as well as the regulatory companies, the Central Electricity Regulation Commission, State Electricity Regulation Commission. An order has been issued by the Supreme Court of India. What is the order? The Supreme Court of India has looked at the concept of a regulatory asset and has issued an order criticizing this practice. The Supreme Court of India has criticized this particular practice. The Supreme Court simply says there is no basis on which regulatory assets are created. These are not illegal, by the way, but the practice is there. But this has become a very common practice. This is a criticism. The creation of regulatory asset has become very common practice across the discoms. It should be used as a last measure, but it has become a very common practice. So this observation has been done by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has issued an order to all the SERCs as well as the distribution companies to clear all the regulatory assets within 4 years. All these regulatory assets which are there in the balance sheet, they should be cleared within 4 years. And what is the impact of this? One impact will be obviously the balance sheet of these distribution companies will become much more cleaner. The financial health of the discoms will become much better. But now the concern is, you just think of it. If I'm a distribution company, there is, let's say regulatory asset worth 20 rupees in my balance sheet. How do I clear it? I will clear this 20 rupees by increasing the tariff. Everybody is able to understand. I will recover this 20 rupees. How? Within 4 years, I have to recover this. But how now? I will increase the tariff. And that is essentially the concern associated with this particular judgment of Supreme Court of India. It might be done at the cost of the common man, where the tariffs will be increased and the common man will have to bear the burden of this particular increased tariff. So that is essentially being discussed. Finally, what is the way forward then? How do we come out of all of this particular mess? It's a cycle, by the way. The government will announce, the discoms will create, Supreme Court will issue an order like this. Common man such as you and me, Aam Aadmi, will suffer because of this. So what is the solution finally? Let me show to you. What is the solution? Please look at the last part of this particular mind map. Everybody is able to see? Please look at the last part of this particular mind map. Right? What is the solution to this? First, very important point that we have to make sure is the tariffs will have to be rationalized. The tariffs, electricity tariffs in India will have to be rationalized. What do you mean by rationalization here? The tariffs, that is electricity that is supplied to retail consumers at the state level, is decided by the state government. And when I say state government, State Electricity Regulation Commission, SERC. SERC basically decides the tariffs at which the retail consumers will have to be sold in the state. Now we need to rationalize this particular pricing. Right? We have to take the right price of the inputs, the right price of, let's say, the infrastructure on which the money is being spent, etc. So one, align the tariff with the cost. Align the tariff with the cost. And not just one alignment. We don't have to align today and forget it. No. Periodically, there has to be an automatic revision of this. Everybody is able to understand. Today, I will realign. Okay. What after 1 year? What after 6 months? What after 9 months? There has to be an automatic alignment of this particular price going forward. That kind of a policy has to be implemented. And the governments, if they want to provide subsidies for the poor people, let them continue to provide. Nothing wrong with that. providing subsidies for certain households, certain farmers required. But when the government announces, let's say the state government announces, every household will get 200 free units of electricity. Don't you think that will be a wrong approach? Every farmer, whether you are a rich farmer or a small farmer or a marginal farmer, every farmer will get free electricity. Don't you think that is a concern? That is a wrong approach in providing the subsidies. So, can we have, right, let's say a different approach to provide the subsidies to the consumers? And at the same point of time, if government will provide the subsidized electricity, the payment has to be done on time basis to the discoms. The state government will have to make the payment on time. Otherwise, what will happen? Just think of this. A distribution company will not receive the payment from the state. It will borrow from the market. When it will borrow, interest will be there, right? Interest it will pay. And ultimately, what will happen? The regulatory asset size will keep on increasing because there is a carrying cost. There is a term called as carrying cost. That 20 rupees gap that if you remember, I will basically borrow 20 rupees from the market and I'll pay interest on this. So 20 rupees after 1 year will become 28 rupees. It will become 30 rupees, etc. So 20 plus carrying cost will keep on increasing the burden, which will again be collected from the consumer over a period of time. So the state governments will have to change the approach. And finally, regulatory commission will have to change its policy. The state electricity regulation commission will have to change the policy, bring in more accountability measure, bring in more transparency measures which will hold these discoms accountable over a period of time. So these kind of changes we will have to introduce going forward. So everybody is okay? Please do let me know in the chat section. Everybody is okay with the concept of regulatory asset? What is the problem? Why there are regulatory assets? What is the Supreme Court of India's judgment? And finally, what is basically the way forward? Please mention all of this if there is a question asked on the power sector in the context of problems, in the context of way forward, etc. Now, let's solve MCQ. All of you, please solve the MCQs. Consider the following statements. The distribution of electricity to consumers is completely under the central government. The center decides all the tariffs on electricity distributed to the retail consumers. Over 50% of installed capacity is under thermal. How many of these particular statements are true? I want your answer. Okay, Anu says D. What about others? What about others? D. None of the statements. Okay. D. Subhash Kumar Sahu says D. Anushka A. Bahadur Alam A. Ira D. Sri D. Okay, my dear. First statement is incorrect. Distribution of electricity consumers is completely under the center? No. Retail consumers, right? Commercial consumers, it will come under the state. Interstate, right? Interstate production, generation, transmission under the center. The center decides all the tariff on electricity distributed to retail? No. Over 50% of the installed capacity is under thermal. That is where a lot of you would be confused. This is the latest data. This is the latest data. I've taken this from the PIB website. This data has been published in the month of June 2025. According to June 2025, please look at the first part of the picture here. The thermal power remains dominant, accounting for 240 gigawatts or 50.52% of installed capacity. Right, so the third statement, over 50% of installed capacity is under thermal. Yes, this statement is true. Right, so right option for this particular question will be option A. Only one of them is correct. Now, apart from this, I've also given you this particular picture. Please make observation. And next year, I hope you understand. Next year, before writing the exams, please have a look at all of these as well. And from the trusted sources such as PIB. If you look at it, right, the solar power 110.9 gigawatts, thermal is 240 gigawatts, bio is 11, small hydro is 5, wind is 51, nuclear is 8, hydro is 48. Done? Okay, right. So this is the energy mix in the context of India. Again, I'm saying this number will not remain stagnant. Is my point clear? The number will keep on changing. Next year before the exams, please make sure that you will remember all of it. Why? Can the UPSC ask you this kind of question in the prelims examination, which was asked earlier, by the way? They will give you 3 to 4 sources, ask you to arrange in ascending order or descending order of capacity. Please do let me know. Can they ask you the question in ascending order or arrange the following in ascending or descending order of installed capacity in India? This is a kind of question which UPSC will ask you. Very easy question provided you know the answer. And how will you know the answer? Look at the data. Okay, now let me go forward. Women judges in Supreme Court. What are the important points here? Lot of data has been given, lot of names have been taken in the article. Don't worry, focus only on these important points. Just focus on these important points. Point number one, very recently there was elevation of certain judges to the Supreme Court. Elevation from High Court, they were elevated to Supreme Court. During the process of elevation, that is the collegium discussion, there was a dissent that was given by Justice Nagaratna. Justice Nagaratna gave a dissent note against one of the justices. What were the arguments which were put forward by Justice Nagaratna? Justice basically said, one, if this justice is elevated from the High Court to the Supreme Court, if the elevation happens, basically there are certain allegations. One of the transfers was done regarding this particular justice. The transfer was done, right, because there were allegations. Of course, I'm talking about Justice Pancholi here, but don't worry, don't take the names in the examination. You need to understand the concept behind it. So there were allegations, hence the transfer was done. Second, if this justice is elevated to the Supreme Court, you talk about regional representation, you talk about caste representation, etc. From Gujarat itself, there will be 3 justices in the Supreme Court now. There will be 3 justices from Gujarat cadre in the Supreme Court. Out of 34, 3 will be from Gujarat. So don't you think regional representation will go for a toss? And this justice going forward after 2030 will be elevated to Chief Justice of India and will have a long tenure as well. When there are so many allegations, this will not send the right message to the public. So these were some of the pointers which were raised by Justice Nagaratna to oppose, to give a dissent against elevation of one of the justice. But the collegium system did not take that into consideration. They have elevated this particular justice to the Supreme Court now. That is the first very important point. Now, what is the important information that you need to take away? What is the important information? If you see in the last couple of years, there is always a certain concern raised regarding the collegium system which is followed in India for elevation of justices. That is being appointed as the justice at the Supreme Court level, we follow a collegium system where the collegium comprises of a Chief Justice of India along with 4 justices. The recommendation will be sent to the government, and the government will basically through the President of India will appoint or will elevate the justice. This is basically the process that is followed. So there is always a criticism, there is always a concern which has been raised for the last couple of years that this process is not transparent enough. This process is opaque, there is no fixed mechanism that is followed, so etc etc. So there has been a concern raised. Now to that, there is one more aspect added, one more angle which is getting added because of this editorial. What is the additional angle now? Representation of women in the Supreme Court. Very simple, gender angle now. Representation of women in the Supreme Court. If you look at overall how many justices have been appointed in the Supreme Court, the number of justices who have been, or the judges who have been appointed at the Supreme Court level, 287 judges. Since 1950, 287 judges have been appointed to Supreme Court. Out of 287, how many are women? Only 11 women have been appointed to the Supreme Court, right, in the form of judges. So 287, out of which only 11. So argument of the writer here is, where is gender parity here? Supreme Court of India tells everybody else follow gender parity. It says, right, the women have to be represented here, women have to be represented there, etc. But if you look at the Supreme Court itself, there is no gender parity. And not just this, look at the next point. There has also been a total absence of caste diversity among women judges. Within women judges, if you basically dissect the data, you will realize that the caste representation is also not there. And that adds to the argument that the process that we are following for appointing the judges to the Supreme Court, there is a need for revamping the process. Because if you see, there is no institutional criteria. Institutional criteria in the sense, from one Chief Justice to another Chief Justice, when the curriculum is issued, they will basically use the terms such as a caste representation will be considered, regionality will be represented, right, etc. But when you talk about, let's say, these kind of parameters, is it institutionalized? No. Is there any transparency in this? No. Is there women representation? Is it institutionalized as one of the parameters that you will consider? No. Why? Let me give you one example. Regarding Justice Pancholi, in the dissent note, Justice Nagaratna simply says, when you look at the seniority, Mr. or Justice Pancholi is 57th. 57th. In terms of seniority, he is 57th. Before him, there are many other women judges who are senior enough, right? They are women justices, etc. Then why are we not considering them? Right? Many other senior judges are there. Why are we not considering them as well? So argument is basically there is an opaqueness in the process. And the writer in the article also says, when the list is prepared and sent, the collegium will prepare the list, send the list to the government. Even before the list is prepared, finalized, there is no announcement done. There is no clarity in the sense who are being considered for elevation. Are 10 people being considered? Are 15 justices are being considered? Are 20 justices being considered? Out of 20, right, what are the criteria we are going to choose to recommend, let's say, 2 people for elevation to Supreme Court? What is the total list of considerations? That is not being published. What we come to know, what is generally done by the collegium is, they will prepare a list, they will send the list, how they are preparing, what are the considerations, there is no clarity. Finally, they will send the list to the government. Government will appoint them as justices. So argument is very simple, right? Gender disparity is there. There is no transparency, right? There is no representation of women. And again, I hope you understand this. We are discussing in the context of judiciary. Correct. Should there be higher representation of women in the judiciary? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Why? You need to have, let's say, right representation whenever judgments have to be delivered. When women will be present as judges, they will bring a lot of foresight into judgments. They will be contributing in a different way through their experience, through their expertise, etc., in giving these kind of orders, etc. And this is not just applicable, by the way, this is not just applicable for judiciary. What about the women's representation in parliament? Think of this. What about the representation of women in the parliament in India? Do we have a high representation of women, or at least the right representation of the women? Right? In the current Lok Sabha, that is the 18th Lok Sabha, 13.6% of the total, right, Lok Sabha MPs are women. 13.6%. And what about the global average? The global average is almost twice of this, 27%. Global average is 27%. In case of India, the lawmakers' representation of women is 13%. So in judiciary, we need to increase the representation. Right? In Lok Sabha, there is a need to increase the representation, etc. So that at decision-taking levels, at policy-making levels, at delivering the justice at that particular level, there is the right representation, contribution will be recognized, and over a period of time, it will also lead to women empowerment. Done. So these are the important points given in this particular article. Important from social issues paper, important from the polity paper as well. Let me go forward. Science and technology article, semiconductors and Vikram 32-bit chip. What is the importance of these two articles? Listen to me very carefully. In the context of semiconductors, India is import dependent. Correct? Everybody will accept this argument. India is import dependent. Means what? A lot of these semiconductors that we require, from electronics to cars to, let's say, space, etc., a lot of them we import into India. We are importing into India. In fact, one more addition to India-Japan relations, out of 68 billion worth of projects or worth of investments that Japan has promised, Japan has agreed to do in India, there is also a component associated with semiconductors. And this is important, by the way. Why? This year's mains examination, there was a question on semiconductors in India. This year mains examination, there was a question, GS paper 3, there was a question on semiconductors. But next year, I don't think so UPSC will immediately repeat it, but question can be asked in the prelims nevertheless. So what are the important points in the context of these two articles? One, India imports a lot of these particular chips. And it's not that Indian government is not promoting the development of chips or semiconductors in India. There are a lot of reforms which have been taken, especially in the last 1 decade, to promote manufacturing of these particular chips. But in that particular context, what is the importance of this particular Vikram 32-bit chip? Vikram 32-bit, or else they will also mention this particular name, Vikram 3201. Remember this, Vikram 3201 as well, right? So Vikram 32 or Vikram 3201. Now, what is the importance? Point number one, the complete supply chain in the sense from designing to fabrication to producing, all of that is indigenous. Remember, this is an important point. Right? The complete process, that is basically from the designing to fabrication to manufacturing of this particular chip, has been done within India. No, right, at no particular stage we have let's say used somebody else's technology, or we have used somebody else's chip or component, etc. Everything has been done within India, indigenously developed. First indigenously developed 32-bit chip, right? That is the important point. Second, do not assume that this particular 32-bit chip means in case of India, now everything will become cheaper. Smartphones will become cheaper, cars will become cheaper. No, this chip, or let's say semiconductor, is not going to be used for commercial purposes for electronic equipments. No, this is going to be used in satellites. This is going to be used in satellites, right? Because please understand, when you use these kind of semiconductors or chips in the let's say defense sector, or let's say satellites, you require them to be let's say working using very less electricity. You require them to continue to function even at very low temperatures, even at very high temperatures, etc. This chip that has been indigenously developed in India will basically check all these boxes. It will basically tick all these particular boxes. That's the reason this is indigenously designed and developed. It is upgraded version of earlier 16-bit Vikram 1601, and I said now it will be Vikram 3201. Right? Earlier 16-bit Vikram 1601, now it will be 3201. Microprocessor which has been utilized in the avionics system. Where it has been developed? Microprocessor chips were designed and developed by Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Factual information, please remember. And Indian Space Research Organization and Semiconductor Laboratory in Chandigarh. Right, so this is basically factual information associated with the Vikram 3201 or Vikram 32-bit microprocessor chip indigenously first indigenously developed. Everybody is okay, right? So this is important point. And what else is there in the article? Basically, Prime Minister says going forward there will be lot of investments are done in India. The government of India has already approved 10 projects. Government of India has already approved 10 semiconductor projects in India. And going forward, more reforms will be implemented to basically promote the whole supply chain of semiconductor manufacturing within India itself. But having said so, I just want to give you one additional piece of information. Do not expect miracles in semiconductors in short duration. That is, Government of India will announce 10 projects will be approved. Do not expect outcomes to be experienced by India within 1 year, within 2 years. Why? Reason is very simple. Semiconductor, one, requires very high investment. Second, R&D takes a very long period of time. The research and development will take a lot of time. Immediately you will not get the results or the outputs. So this is a long term view for us. It's a long shot. Do not assume that today the project is announced and tomorrow the project will start churning out, right? Let's say microprocessors in India. No, that will not happen. But nevertheless, good initiative. We need to be self reliant, promote indigenous development. Why? Reason is when you're import dependent, the IPRs are not there with you. The intellectual property right is owned by somebody else. And you will continue to be reliant on them. And let's say USA might restrict exporting of semiconductors. China may impose restrictions. Taiwan may impose restriction. So when you're import dependent, these kind of restrictions will hurt you. That's the reason we need to invest, develop them, own the IPRs, and that will take time. Done? Okay. Next article. The governor of Kerala has approached the Supreme Court, right, questioning the CM role in the selecting vice chancellor. What are the important points here? Right, listen to me carefully. This is being discussed for multiple months now. What is essentially the update? Update is very simple. Whenever you talk about universities, there are two universities in the question here. One is APJ Abdul Kalam University, and another one is Kerala Digital University. So when you talk about this, there is always a debate that is happening, friction that has been happening between the governor as well as the state government. State government simply says, we are elected by the people. We should see or we should control who is appointed as vice chancellor. The governor says, I am the chancellor. So who is appointed as VC comes under my purview. This has been taken up by Supreme Court, right? They have approached Supreme Court. Supreme Court, I'm just adding updates here. Supreme Court, in the context of these two universities, has appointed a panel. It has appointed a panel which will be headed by Justice Dhulia. Okay, this is the update. Listen to me. A Justice Dhulia led panel has been appointed. The Supreme Court also said the members to the panel can be taken from the recommendations given by the governor as well as the state government. The panel will have to prepare, right, a list of the people, right, whom they want to be appointed as a vice chancellor. The list has to be given to the state government, chief minister, state government, that is chief minister. Then the chief minister will give the list based on its recommendation, whom to be appointed, not to be appointed, with all the details. The list now has to go to the governor. Is everybody okay? This is what has been ordered by Supreme Court of India. Now, against this particular order, the Kerala governor has approached Supreme Court. The Kerala governor wants a certain modification. Certain changes should be done in the order. What are the changes? The Kerala governor simply says the representatives of the state government should not be present in the panel. Representative of the state government should not be present. Why? There is no provision in any of the law. And as such, if you look at the procedure which has been recommended by UGC, University Grants Commission, the UGC clearly says the state government which has a certain interest, because the state governments owns the right? Let's say various schools, colleges, etc., which are reporting to the universities, etc. So there is a conflict there. So UGC process doesn't allow. The governor is the chancellor, so governor should be given the prerogative here, right? Hence, this order has to be changed. Representative of the state government should not be present in the panel. And another modification that has been put forward, which has been requested by the governor through this kind of a application to the Supreme Court, is the Supreme Court said the list has to be sent by the chief minister to the governor, and there has to be a priority. The list prepared by the government, state government, which will be sent to the governor, will have a priority. The state government simply says, we prefer this candidate, first preference, second preference, etc. The governor simply says, no, the preference should not be given. Simply the list should be given. Preference should not be given. Why? The governor is the chancellor of the university. Hence, the governor should be given the right to choose whomsoever the governor wants. So this particular right application has been filed by the Kerala governor. It is just an update. Going forward, there will be more and more discussion associated with this. Next, important article. Please have a look at this. The government of UP, Uttar Pradesh, has set up Outsourcing Corporation. The state government of UP has set up an outsourcing corporation. What is this outsourcing corporation? You must have seen various state governments will outsource some of the jobs. They will not hire everyone. Why? If they hire everyone, they'll become state government employees. And if they become state government employees, a lot of expenditure for the state government. So what the state governments do is they will outsource. But the problem that the state government simply says is, let's say the state government through the department, through the department under the different ministries, through the department will outsource the work to a particular, let's say, entity. Now, what is the concern here? Two very important concerns. What is the guarantee that this entity will make the right payment on timely basis to the employees? Is everybody okay with this particular point? What is the guarantee? Correct payment will be done by the entity? No guarantee. On timely basis? No guarantee. And what if certain security contributions were supposed to be taken and paid to, right, let's say the schemes? For example, let's say there is EPF, Employment Provident Fund. The entity is supposed to take the money from the salary, contribute. The entity from its own also is supposed to contribute some amount. What if these social security contributions are done on timely basis? So there is one concern. Second concern is, from one department to another department, the process of giving this work to an entity will change. What if there is opaqueness? What if there is corruption that is taking place here, etc.? So looking at these kind of issues, the state government of UP has taken a very important decision now. What is the decision? It has decided to set up a non-profit organization. It will be named as Outsource Service Corporation Limited. Outsource Service Corporation Limited. And what they will do now? They will, all the ministries, all the departments individually, rather than going individually, now the outsourcing shall be done only through one entity. Everybody is able to understand? Outsourcing of this job shall be done by only one entity. And how they will choose the company, how they will choose which company will supply how many employees, etc., it shall be done in a transparent manner. It shall be done in a very transparent manner. How so? There is a portal which has been set up by the government called as Government E-Marketplace. GEM, Government E-Marketplace. Now, using the portal, the applications will be called. Anybody who wants to supply labor, temporary labor, right, to the government will have to apply through the portal, and they will be chosen through the portal itself. So transparency will be maintained now. And not just this, right? The government also says the employees who will be hired, again, outsourcing, through outsourcing, employees who will work under this model, The salary for them will be in the range of 16 to 20,000 rupees per month. They will be given a contract of 3 years. And not just that, the payment of the salary shall be done directly into their bank account. Is my point clear? The payment shall be done directly into their bank account, not through the entity, directly into the bank account. And whatever payments for social security benefits, etc., have to be done, the government will take it and contribute it. Right? So basically, these are certain very important key features of this new model which has been proposed to be implemented by the state of UP. Everybody is okay, right? So this is a very, very niche model, right? A very, very right important concept in the context of, let's say, protecting these kind of labor. Now, please solve the MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding Government e-Marketplace Portal. GEM stands for Government e-Marketplace. It is operated and maintained by the GEM SPV. SPV stands for Special Purpose Vehicle. Special Purpose Vehicle. Okay, this is maintained and operated under GEM SPV. It is available only for the center and states. The local bodies are barred from using it. First statement is correct. First statement is correct. It is operated by a special purpose vehicle. That is, a special entity owned by the government has been set up, which is managing the portal. It is available only for the center and states. Local bodies are barred. No, local bodies are also allowed to procure from this. Second statement is incorrect. Right option is option A. Only one is correct. Most of you who have answered have said A. Some of you have said D. Some of you have said right others. Some of you are still waiting. Sir, I don't know whether to jump into this side or that side. I don't know what to do. Right. So now you know. Only first statement is true. That is option A is the right one. Okay. One article from Indian Express. Yudh Abhyas. Yudh Abhyas. What is the importance of this? Right now, the relations between India and USA are not as normal as they were, right, let's say in the last 2 decades. All of you will agree? The relations between India and USA are not as usual. In the last 2 decades, by the way, I hope you understand, even the US has acknowledged this. Earlier also they have acknowledged, very recently also they have acknowledged. India and USA partnership is one of the most important and, let's say, evolving partnership in the last 25 years. But in the last 4 or 5 months, these relations or the partnership between India and USA have taken a hit. Not fault of ours, fault of theirs. So argument is, when this is happening on one side, what is happening in the context of defense relation, defense partnership? Because mind you, India and USA have signed multiple agreements. For example, please remember this. India and USA back in 2013 signed joint USA-India Declaration on Defense Cooperation. Right? In 2015, we have signed a framework for US-India defense relationship. We have signed a COMCASA. We have signed a LEMO agreement, etc. So between India and USA, it's not just trade, by the way. It's not just trade. There is a defense relationship as well. And in the last 10 years, that is in the last 1 decade itself, if you observe it, you will realize we are purchasing more and more even the defense equipments from USA, not just from Russia. Just to put the things in context and you have overall idea about it, there was a point of time where majority of the defense imports that we did was from Russia. There was a point of time. Even today, we are importing a lot of it from Russia. But in the last 1 decade, as a percentage of total imports from Russia, it has gone down. From USA, from France, right, and other countries, Israel, this percentage actually increased. Right? So please remember that as well. So while all of this is happening in terms of trade, what about, let's say, defense? Right? There is one bilateral exercise, Yudh Abhyas. This is the 21st edition of this particular bilateral exercise. It is an annual exercise. Please remember, it's a bilateral exercise. So 21st edition is being conducted In USA now, from 1st to 14th of September, this exercise will be conducted. Right? This is just an update. Please remember. Next, COP30, COP30. Okay, COP30 to focus on known solutions says its president. This year, the Conference of Parties 30, that is basically under the United Nations Framework on Convention Climate Change, UNFCC. Under UNFCC, the 30th, right, let's say, submission or meet will be held in Brazil. It will be held in Brazil this year. And in this particular context, there is one statement that has been given by the representative of Brazil, which has raised a certain interest now. What is the interest? Listen to me carefully. Whenever you talk about the climate change and the cooperation of all the member countries, etc., there are two aspects to this which are holding back the idea. What are the two aspects? One is the negotiation part, correct? One is the negotiation, and the second one is implementation. First, we will negotiate. And do you think negotiations having 100 plus countries, bringing all of them on the same page, making all the 100 plus countries to agree to this, it is easier? No, it is a time consuming process, very difficult process to ensure all the member countries will arrive at consensus. And there is a second aspect to this. Once there is a negotiation consensus, there is a problem associated with implementation. Some countries, right, will have a different opinion in terms of how we can approach reduction of emission. Some countries will have a different aspect or different reservation against sharing technology. Some countries will raise reservations against contribution, etc. So there is always a debate. By clubbing both of these, they will use the term track. Remember this particular term, right? They will use the term track. By basically clubbing the discussion, that is the negotiation as well as implementation, is it the correct approach, or should we differentiate, basically remove both of them and approach both of them separately? Is everybody okay? Should we club and continue doing, right, both of them simultaneously, or cut both of them, separate them, approach both of them individually? And that is exactly what the statement is given in the article here. The president, that is basically the Brazil, right, the representative of Brazil is saying, this year when the negotiations will happen, we will propose this idea of cleaving. Cleaving means cutting both of these and having two different right tracks for both of them, so that at least negotiations can move faster compared to implementation. Right now we have clubbed and there is a delay, there is no consensus, and this will delay the whole process. As such, there is already a concern that by the end of century, the target of controlling the temperature rise, which is 1.5 degrees Celsius, we are not going to meet that. Many experts, surveys and reports are saying we will not be able to achieve that particular target. Whatever we have planned, if we implement all of it, maximum best efforts can be 2.6 degrees Celsius. That is, we can control the rise of temperature globally by 2.6, not by 1.5 degree. So there is already a concern. In that case, we should have a different approach for negotiation, different approach for implementation. That is an update associated with COP30. And the last article for the day, right, just an update. The Supreme Court is hearing the issue, that is basically the presidential reference. Again, this is nothing new. It is hearing the presidential reference. Presidential reference regarding what? The powers of governor. The powers of governor regarding the state bills. So there is an observation, in fact, couple of observations which have been made by the Supreme Court of India justices. What are the observations? One, again, these are observations. These are not the judgments. These are observations. So one, right, the justices are basically raising a concern regarding having a fixed time limit of 3 months. They're raising a concern. Why 3 months? Why uniformly for all the bills 3 months? Can we have a separate approach based on different kinds of bills? And second observation is, The Supreme Court is also aligned with the idea that the governor cannot keep on holding the bills indefinitely. And they can't keep on holding the bills indefinitely. Once it has been approved by the state legislature, there has to be some action by the governor. They can't keep on holding these particular bills till infinity, because there is no time period which has been prescribed in the Constitution of India. So these are some of the observations, of what is being discussed, what is being raised, points, counterpoints, etc., etc. These are not judgments, by the way. It will happen. These kind of, let's say, hearings will continue to happen. And once the judgment is issued by the constitutional bench, that will be important for you. Done? So this is an update associated with the Supreme Court hearing regarding this presidential reference. So now tell me, these are the articles that I've covered for today's discussion, not only from Hindu newspaper, but from Indian Express as well. Now, if you have any kinds of doubts or confusion or problems associated with the topics that I've discussed, do let me know. Any kinds of doubts or confusion, please do let me know. And if you like this initiative, if you like what we are doing, if you're learning something from these particular classes, do let us know in the form of likes, in the form of comments in the comment section after the video is over. And regarding the PPT that I'm using, please don't worry. All of this PPT, whatever I am using, will be uploaded. Please use the link, download the PPT. Okay. What is inflation tax? My dear, inflation tax is essentially, again, just to put in a very crude form, reduction in the purchasing power of cash. When you hold cash and there is inflation over a period of time, the purchasing power of the cash will go down. That is called as inflation tax. Anushka Singh, my dear, please post your doubt, because I'm not able to see, what is your doubt? Sir, where should I post? In the comment section. Sir, government and governor issue can simplify it. What? In what context? In what context? Please do let me know. So second topic I did not get. My dear, it's very simple. The distribution company is purchasing electricity at a higher price, selling it at lesser price. Purchasing at a higher price, selling it at lower price. Recovery is lesser. There is a loss. There is certain under recovery. That value is mentioned in the balance sheet of the DISCOM as a regulatory asset. Now the Supreme Court simply says, no, don't keep these as regulatory assets. How many years will you keep it? In fact, there's a proposal by DISCOM. So there was a proposal, by the way, by 2021, we will clear all these regulatory assets, which has not happened. So Supreme Court of India is simply saying liquidate all of them in the next 4 years. Okay. Done then. So that's it from my side in today's session then. Take care. See you next time whenever I take the session. Stay hungry, stay foolish. If you like the initiative, do hit the like button. And if you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.